Welcome, Your Excellencies. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. A warm welcome to the webinar, Greater South Information System, Democratizing Access to Knowledge and Knowledge Production Across the South. My name is Dr. Isabel Zog, and I'm Chief of Section Knowledge Development and Democratization at the Organization of Southern Cooperation. Today's webinar is co-hosted by the Organization of Southern Cooperation, the OSC, and the All Africa Students Union, AASU. AASU is an associate member of the OSC, and I would like to warmly welcome all members of the AASU Secretariat and affiliates to the webinar. I also welcome all members of the OSC Secretariat to the webinar today. Finally, I welcome all of our esteemed guests, many of you representing institutions from across the Global South who are doing pivotal work to develop knowledge and democratize access to knowledge within your own contexts. We are joined today by representatives of OSC's associate members, ministries of education, embassies, universities, student unions, research institutes, community organizations, and companies across the globe. And when I looked at the registration list a few minutes ago, we had representatives from across at least 4 continents. So we're very pleased to have you with us. And we're very pleased to share with you information on the Greater South Information System, or GreSIS as we like to call it, that we believe will bring value to your work. And I would invite you to please add your name, your institution, and country to the chat as a way to introduce yourself to us here among the presenters, as well as to your fellow guests in the webinar. We're very interested to see, to have you here and to see who is joining us to add depth and diversity to the discussions today. Please also note that audio is available in the 4 languages of the OSC: English, Arabic, Spanish, and French. You can access this by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom window and choosing your preferred language. Our focus today is on how GreSIS will democratize access to knowledge and knowledge production across the Greater South, and how institutions can enroll on the GreSIS beta version. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our venerated speakers. They will share with you foundational background and perspectives on GreSIS. GreSIS is a flagship program of the OSC, developed in cooperation between 2 departments under the leadership of our first 2 speakers. The first is Professor Hirut Woldemariam. She is Undersecretary General of the Department of Research, Evaluation, and Foresight, or REEF. She will share welcoming remarks and set the context for today's discussions. Next, we will be graced by remarks from Dr. Shumate Gizao. He is the Undersecretary General for the Department of Technological Innovation and Digitalization Enhancement, or TIDE. He will present opening remarks from the perspective of the rapid and effective technological development of GreSIS. I am sorry to inform you that Peter Kwazi Koji, Secretary General of AASU, due to unforeseen circumstances, will not be able to present his remarks today. However, we are very pleased to welcome Divine Edem Kwadzode, AASU Policy Advisor on Education. He will present opening remarks on behalf of the All Africa Students Union from the perspective of associate members focused on academic access and excellence for students across the African continent. Following the welcoming and opening remarks from our speakers, you will hear from 2 members of the GreSIS technical team, Ms. Mary Gouveren Igbazua, Multilateral Initiatives Coordinator of Knowledge Democratization. She will introduce you to the motivating factors behind GreSIS development and how its features serve users. Next, Mr. Emmanuel Zodu Kebede, GreSIS lead developer, will walk us through the platform, steps for institutional enrollment, and how institutions can showcase their knowledge on GreSIS. Next, we will hear brief reflections from 2 members of the AASU Secretariat, Ms. Hilda Nyarkoa Beko, lead of the AASU Migration and Mobility Working Group, and Mr. James Fuji, the lead of the Democracy and Good Governance Working Group. They have extensive experience with GreSIS, thanks to their recent participation in the first OSC Institute training session in Addis Ababa. We will end the webinar with a Q&A session. Please kindly note that at any point throughout the webinar, guests are welcome to post questions to the chat, and these will be compiled and addressed during the Q&A session. You're also welcome to post questions in any of our 4 OSC languages. Finally, I would direct your attention to the chat for links to the expression of interest form to register your institution on GreSIS, as well as a link to share your institution's repository on GreSIS. We look forward to welcoming you on GreSIS soon. With no further ado, I welcome Professor Hirut Wodemariam to take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Isabel, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to our webinar on GreSIS, the Greater South Information System. As it has been said, this is a flagship program of the Organization of Southern Cooperation, OSC, that aims at facilitating knowledge production and democratizing access to knowledge. So first and foremost, I want to express again my gratitude to each one of you for accepting our invitation and making the time to join us this afternoon. We have an exciting and informative session, as Dr. Isabel introduced it, lined up. And we are absolutely thrilled to welcome you to this first webinar we put together for you. So to begin with, for those not familiar, maybe, the OSC is the youngest intergovernmental organization, very much visionary, very much dynamic, founded by countries of the Greater South to foster an inclusive, equitable, and sustainable path of development for all humanity. So speaking about knowledge, which is our topic this afternoon, I would like to talk about very briefly, in 5 minutes, on 3 issues. One is, what is access to knowledge good for? And what are the main challenges of access to knowledge? And then finally, how does GreSIS intend to address that? And how do we collaborate together to make that happen? Well, it has become, ladies and gentlemen, increasingly clear nowadays that access to knowledge is not just about intellectual enrichment or intellectual fulfillment that we seek knowledge for, but it is because knowledge is a fundamental prerequisite for sustainable development and for inclusive growth. How? Because knowledge itself is power, you know, as Francis Bacon and Nelson Mandela and many other prominent figures put it in various ways. I will also repeat it, knowledge is power. So we have to ensure access to that power, to knowledge. In fact, throughout history, it has been witnessed that knowledge has driven progress, it has driven innovation, and of course, knowledge is also what is creating power dynamics in our world. Because access to knowledge actually is crucial not only for personal development, of course, for personal empowerment, it's essential, but also for fostering social and economic development and for driving innovation. And in fact, it is also important for enhancing democracy and civic engagement. Knowledge allows informed decision-making while also supporting cultural exchange and environmental awareness. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, ensuring equitable access to knowledge is necessary to bridge socioeconomic divides and to promote a more inclusive, a more just, and more prosperous societies. But then access to knowledge is not without problem. You know, let me mention 2 serious challenges related to access to knowledge. One is distribution of knowledge, which is not equitable in our world. What I mean by that is that there is imbalance in knowledge distribution across the world today. And this imbalance perpetuates existing power disparities and hinders collective progress, and often mirrors the geopolitical divides of our societies. Number two, the conventional definition of knowledge. That is also another serious problem for us to address. Often, as you know, the definition of knowledge overlooks or disregards endogenous knowledge. Our rich endogenous knowledge is not being considered as knowledge to begin with. Even though knowledge was there before scientific methods got formulated and existed, and scientific knowledge is considered as the only and exclusive legitimate knowledge in our world. So actually, science was actually a late manifestation of human history, that's obvious. And the homegrown endogenous knowledge originated from within our societies, communities, through practical experiences gained over thousands of years and developed through creativity, trial and error, and with our relationship with nature, and adapted to the local environment and culture, of that specific community. Unfortunately, is not recognized as legitimate knowledge just by definition, and that's not good enough. And our endogenous knowledge that has transmitted across generations in the form of values, worldviews, beliefs, traditions, community laws, even through cultural practices, also passed through stories, folklore, and proverbs, even in the form of techniques related to various domains, they are now considered as credible and legitimate knowledge to be accessed and to be utilized to address our multifaceted problems. We all know that indigenous knowledge is not captured by our education systems, nor incorporated in our curricula, nor utilized to address our problems. Yes, of course, endogenous knowledge is different from the scientific knowledge in terms of its epistemological, normative, and cognitive foundations, but it is tested across time and appears to be relevant and useful for us. I have so many examples, to show that, but that will be kept for another webinar. So to conclude, coming back to GreSIS, ladies and gentlemen, designed by the OSC, GreSIS has been born to provide justice to these imbalances in access to knowledge, imbalance distribution of knowledge, and to the imbalance recognition of various knowledge sources as important, equally important. So GreSIS aspires for a more just and a more interconnected world that shares, that gains, and utilizes all kinds of knowledge, academic, non-academic, and endogenous knowledge. By the way, as just been told by Dr. Isabel, the system provides all continents, publications, journals, books, other documents, data, endogenous knowledge archives, simultaneously in 4 OSC languages: English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. These are widely used language, bridging language to serve the needs of researchers and students from across the Greater South. But of course, more language will join in the future as media of knowledge, So finally, my call for you today is to request you to enroll and get registered in your institutions, get them registered in GreSIS platform, and also share your repositories, your e-libraries, your documentations with GreSIS, to give them more visibility and to advance democratization of knowledge and create a better and a more sustainable future where access to knowledge will be guaranteed for all. So the technical part will be presented very soon after the introductory section, and I'm confident that we'll have a fruitful time in this webinar today. Thank you very much again for coming and joining us, and enjoy the webinar. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Isabel.
Thank you so much, Professor Hirut. wonderful setting of the stage for our conversations today. So it's my pleasure now to welcome Dr. Shumate Gizau, Undersecretary General for Department of Technological Innovation and Digitalization Enhancements, to share your remarks. The floor is yours. Dr. Shumate, you are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Very well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Isabel. Thank you, Prof. Pirut, for the brief introduction of GreSIS. Dear Excellencies from different corners of the world, that we are expecting participants from at least 4 continents of the Global South. These webinar participants, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, please allow me to take this webinar opportunity to say something. Our ideology of endogenous technology development emanates from. We all know there is a rampant technological scientific divide between the global north and the global south, and between countries of the global south, as well as within countries themselves, because of the various historical, geographical, cultural, ideological, and economic reasons. So as such, to sustainably bridge these techno-digital scientific divides, the need for the development of endogenous technologies devised as a new paradigm by the OSC, our organization, your organization, the emerging and the young organization, as already explained in the beginning by Prof. Pirut, to introduce more contextually relevant technologies that enable countries to be proactive actors and shapers of the fourth industrial revolution and the aligned emerging technologies in our world today. So to help our countries, member states, and all the humanities in the global south change their seats as drivers instead of mere passengers when it comes to technology development and use is concerned. So we at the OSC promotes endogenous technology development as a panacea for several reasons. For example, to be producers of technology instead of consumers, and instead of being a market of technology from the north. To ensure technologies are appropriate to local contexts, to build on local knowledge and capacities, to promote self-reliance and economic sustainability, and actually to protect ourselves, to protect the digital sovereignty of the countries of the global south. One of the major threats of the advancement of technology and digitalization is that most of the countries in the global south, their sovereignty, the digital sovereignty, the cyber sovereignty is compromised. And so development of endogenous technologies, we believe that help us to protect ourselves from any kind of compromising our sovereignty. So accordingly, to consider endogenous technology development as a point of departure from other existing approach of technology development, OSC promotes open source, primarily open source software and tools, open source digital infrastructure, as its smallest step towards the realization of endogenous technology development and use. Why open source? We start from simple to complex. We use the latecomer advantage principles for technology development and use. Open source software is a type of software development model where the source code of the application is freely available for everyone to use, to study, to modify, and distribute as they wish. It has been an increasingly popular choice for developing software due to its mainly 4 reasons. The first one is affordability. Second one is scalability. The third one is flexibility. And the fourth one is robustness. But if you look at, for example, closed source software, also known as proprietary software, as their name indicates, they are closed. We are exposed to purchase and lease license keys to use for a short period of time, and then they will automatically be obsolete when the deadline is over for the use of those softwares. So the public is not given access to the source code, so they can't see or modify it in any way as possible. Accordingly, we developed, as already indicated by Dr. Isabel and Professor Hewitt, we developed GreSIS and other softwares in the OSC from open source and open technologies. Accordingly, GreSIS is developed. GreSIS is an open and accessible transdisciplinary knowledge platform catering to the needs of institutions and individuals, mainly our institutions of our member states and associate members, and actually countries of the global south. GreSIS is ideated, conceptualized, planned, designed, developed, and launched by the OSC in-house to help member states and associate members to use it as a tool to identify, collect, digitalize knowledge of diverse dimensions and types. So GreSIS again followed a standard software development process, extreme programming and agile methodology that ensures all the right processes and checks and balances are in place for the best possible outcome, and particularly to satisfy the needs and interests of our countries of the global south. It has an embedded AI feature. Actually, as Professor Ruth earlier explained, what makes GreSIS from any other kinds of repositories is that it has an embedded AI feature to automatically translate all articles and any other resources in at least 4 OSCE language for the time being. In the future, more language will be translated and available for end users. So what we are expecting from GreSIS, as already somehow said, is that we expect 4 major results from GreSIS. The first one is transdisciplinarity. That means bridging academic and non-academic knowledge domains. Second one is accessibility, making knowledge more accessible to all. As Prof. Hilt already indicated, it's not only the knowledge that we consider is not only the knowledge that's already published and available in the form of articles, journals, and so on. Endogenous knowledge that are existing from our traditions, from our ancestors and our localities are also considered in GreSIS. The third one is inclusivity, collecting, preserving, and raising the visibility of endogenous knowledge, traditional knowledge from the Global South. And the last and the most important one, as we are doing it now, is collaboration, fostering collaborative research across the Global South. So as one of the grand strategies of the OSC toward this bridging the techno-digital scientific divide in our countries of the Global South, here we are using and applying software tools and softwares and technologies. And so we believe that this is a paradigm that we can capture, that we can easily use in order to see the societal transformations that we are aspiring to see in our countries of the Global South. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shumate. Thank you for your remarks. Very important. So now I would hand over to Divine Edem Kwadzode. He is the AASU Policy Advisor on Education. Welcome, Divine. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Divine Edem Kwadzode. I'm the Policy Advisor on Education Policy and Advocacy at the Secretariat of the All Africa Students Union. Our Secretary General, Mr. Peter Kwesi, asked today due to unforeseen circumstances, and so it is my honor to represent him in this very important webinar. And before I proceed, I would first like to extend our sincerest thanks to the Organization of Southern Cooperation for co-hosting this crucial webinar with the All Africa Students Union. Special thanks to all of you organizers and participants for your dedication. The Secretary General has asked me to specially thank the Secretary General of the OSC, His Excellency Mansour bin Musalam, for his visionary leadership, and Prof. Wolde Mariam, Under Secretary General for Research, Evaluation and Foresight. Additionally, he has asked that we extend ASU's gratitude to you, Dr. Isabella, for your efforts in bringing GreSIS to life. As we are all aware, the realm of academia has historically been dominated by a few profit-driven publishers, leading to significant global knowledge inequality. And what this has done is that it has resulted in the marginalization of knowledge from the Global South. And it has confined scholarly research with inaccessible profit-driven entities. Now, GreSIS has emerged as a revolutionary platform dedicated to bridging this gap. From the viewpoint of the All Africa Students Union, GreSIS represents a beacon of hope for academic and non-academic communities by ensuring that knowledge from our part of the world is not only accessible, but it is also valued. And for us at ASU, this initiative aligns perfectly with the broader mission of ASU, which is to promote equitable access to education and empower students and scholars across Africa and beyond. As we are all aware, ASU is the umbrella organization for all Africa students, from basic levels to institutions of higher learning. We represent over 170 million students across Africa and in the diaspora. Since our inception in 1972, we have been a formidable force advocating for equal access to quality education, quality assurance in higher education, and the harmonization of education systems across Africa. Our strategic priorities include education and students' rights, capacity building, gender advocacy, environment and climate action, Pan-Africanism and African culture, migration and mobility, and democracy and good governance. And so for us at ASU, GreSIS perfectly aligns with our broader mission. That is why from the very beginning of the development of GreSIS, we have been active contributors, ensuring that the platform aligns with our objectives and strategic priorities and contributes towards making education, knowledge, and enlightenment more accessible across Africa. And so this is why we've been actively involved in the development of GreSIS. Now, GreSIS offers many benefits to researchers, students, educators in Africa. What GreSIS does is that it allows for the increased visibility of research and resources from the global south. And this is something that has been lacking for a very long time in the global south and for us as AASU in Africa. Now, this lack of visibility for our researchers has ensured that normally they do not get enough partnerships. Their work doesn't have a lot of impact. And so beyond even providing access to knowledge in Africa, we believe that GreSIS is doing the very needed thing of platforming our researchers, of making sure that there is greater impact for the work our researchers in Africa and the global south are conducted. And so we are very happy to be on board. GreSIS is providing a collaborative digital hub where researchers, education, and students can connect, share, and develop knowledge collectively. And this is something that is revolutionary. The very idea of GreSIS is revolutionary. And so that is why we are very happy to be on board. And beyond everything, it also has the added advantage of being able to translate resources into English, into French, into Spanish, Arabic. So GreSIS also has the added advantage of ensuring that language is not just a barrier. Language is not a barrier to accessing knowledge in the global south. The platform supports the preservation and dissemination of indigenous and endogenous knowledge, which is often overlooked by traditional academic publishers. And so at AASU, we are thrilled to be partners with the OSC in this endeavor because it not only amplifies our efforts, but also for us, it enhances the impact of our initiatives on the larger scale. And so to support the successful implementation of GreSIS, over the past couple of days and weeks, AASU has initiated training programs for our staff, for our interns, and for our national service personnel. And this training has been crucial in ensuring that all our staff, our interns, and our national service personnel and associated members are well equipped to utilize and promote the platform effectively. And we have onboarded a significant number of our members and plan to further collaborate with the OSC to organize national campus drives aimed at onboarding universities across Africa. So I urge all attending institutions to enroll in GreSIS and take advantage of this transformative platform. It is an opportunity to democratize knowledge within your institutions and beyond. So please do encourage your colleagues, your students, stakeholders to advocate for GreSIS within their networks, because the success of GreSIS relies on our collaborative and collective efforts. Share your institutional repositories and resources with GreSIS as well, so as to enhance the richness and diversity of the platform. I thank you for your attention and for being part of this important initiative. And I look forward to fruitful discussions and collaborations that will arrive from today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Divine Kwadzode. We really appreciate the wonderful support of AASU throughout the entire process of GreSIS development. And we're very pleased that you are one of our, you're at the forefront of GreSIS use and adoption and rollouts. And we appreciate your perspectives and remarks. Thank you so much. So I now have the great pleasure of introducing my colleague, Mary Gouveren Igbazua. She is the Multilateral Initiatives Coordinator for Knowledge Democratization in the Department of REEF at the Organization of Southern Cooperation. And she will be sharing her presentation with you as soon as that is shared via the video.
Thank you, Dr. Isabel. And it's a pleasure to be here. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for your time today. So I'll be doing a brief presentation to explain the why of GreSIS. So once the slides are up, I'll go ahead and begin. And I also want to extend my appreciation to Professor Hirut, Dr. Shumate, and Divine for doing an excellent job of explaining the why of GreSIS and how this is important and the role that the OSC has played, as well as support from associate members to get us to this current stage where we are in the platform rollout in the beta release. So thank you all so very much. All right, next slide, please. Yes, so as already explained during the conversation with the previous speakers, Professor Hirut was able to share some insights on why it's important to have a platform like GreSIS, and Dr. Shumate talked on the role of endogenous technology in bridging the digital divide and the education divide. So when we were having the conversation of why does the Global South need GreSIS, as the OSC, being an institution that's founded on the principles of balance and inclusive education, it was important to begin to inquire into the higher education sector to understand the gaps that are currently present and see what role the OSC could play in terms of democratizing knowledge. So when we're speaking about the geopolitics of knowledge, we're really trying to understand the issues or the problems relating to inclusivity, representation, as well as marginalization in the knowledge production process for countries and regions in the Global South. And two problems come to focus when we're talking about the geopolitics of knowledge production, which is one, the increasing dependence of research and researchers on big profit academic publishers. And secondly, the increasing global knowledge inequality, particularly affecting the Global South. And what this results in is that first, we have a situation where we're facing knowledge delegitimation as big academic publishers decide who produces knowledge, how knowledge is produced or circulated, and what forms of knowledge are deemed legitimate or valuable in society. And Professor Hirut did an excellent job in giving the background of our diverse knowledge bases as countries of the Global South, and how over time, knowledge that has been passed on from generation to generation is not deemed legitimate within the traditional academic domain. So GreSIS also seeks to find out how can we breach that? How can we democratize access to knowledge and representation for our knowledge bases in the Global South? And the second result of this problem is the knowledge capture. We see increasingly the concentration of scholarly infrastructure in few profit-making organizations that control the technologies, the tools, and services that underpin our scholarly research lifecycle, and the impact that has generally on what kind of knowledge is available globally and the representation of the Global South scholars in the current knowledge production cycle. So here we have a visual representation of the knowledge production, the academic knowledge production cycle, which is split into three major pillars. And the first pillar being the research process. The middle pillar, we have the publishing process, as well as the research evaluation process. And we can see that at every step of the line, we have the cluster of these big academic publishers that control how knowledge is processed, how it's developed, how it's circulated, and how it's validated. And we can see a few very familiar names here that currently dominate the space for knowledge production or the knowledge production cycle and the value chain across the board. So GreSIS comes into the picture to try and understand how does this now impact the quality or the inclusion of research or works from our Global South scholars. And here, another visual that shows the number of journals that are published in Europe and North America versus what's available or published in the Global South. We have approximately 22,600 journals that are published in America, North America and Europe, and on the other hand, 5,400, which gives like a 24% disparity in how much knowledge is produced from the global South versus America, North America and Europe. And that in turn raises more questions to, so what does this mean for inclusion? What does this mean for diversity of knowledge bases? And how can we, through GreSIS, the OSC, through GreSIS, create a more inclusive space that has diverse sources of knowledge and also promotes collaboration for researchers across the global South and the global North, bridging that knowledge divide. Also, when we talk about inclusion or the diversity of knowledge, Professor Hewitt also had mentioned the role of indigenous knowledge in our communities, and also buttressed by the indigenous knowledge technology that had been applied in developing GreSIS. As Dr. Schmidt rightfully said, GreSIS was produced completely in-house by the OSC with our local talent here in the Global South, homegrown solutions to problems that we have identified within our communities. So indigenous knowledge, we've realized, is historically faces the delegitimation where within the academic circles where they decide what is valid, what's a valid source of knowledge. We have knowledge that has been passed on from generation to generation that has been useful in solving our problems, but within the academic domain space, it's not deemed as valid knowledge basis, and it's not shared or even accessed or even properly documented to be accessible across the world and across our global South regions. So it comes to our role as the OAC, as an organization that is based on the principles of the balanced and inclusive education. We believe that if we work collectively, we can create a paradigm shift in the knowledge economy on how knowledge is accessed, how it's produced, and how it's validated from the Greater South for all humanity. So homegrown solutions that could be applicable for us here in the Global South lead to representation as well as also relevant to the greater humanity. And that's what GreSIS aims to do. So when we look at our mission and purpose is, as said earlier, revolutionary digital collaborative hub, revolutionary in the sense that we're trying to break the existing structures. We're trying to create a space for more inclusion, for diversity, and to also lead to collaboration. It's free and accessible across transdisciplinary knowledge domains and also available in 4 languages. We also want to bridge the divide in terms of language, the divide that language poses for knowledge and transdisciplinary research as well as collaboration by making resources available in the OSC languages. Next slide, please. And the objectives, we have 4 major objectives that guide the development process of GreSIS. 1 is to improve access to knowledge across academic, non-academic domains in 4 languages, collect, preserve, and make endogenous knowledge available across the South and to the greater knowledge circle, as well as make higher education more accessible through GreSIS. So we're working with our developers and also collaboratively with TIDE to continue to develop and scale more ways that using the GreSIS platform, we can drive collaboration with researchers and scholars in the Global South through an innovative platform. Next slide, please. So who is GreSIS for? As said in the invitation emails that went out and the follow-up conversations, and also by the diverse people that have joined in today across various parts of the world, GreSIS is for scholarly and academic institutions, it's for researchers, scholars, educators, students, civil society organizations, government, innovation spaces, and all members of society that are interested in being part of knowledge production, circulation, and preservation across the Global South and the greater and as well as the world in general. Next slide, please. So on GreSIS, we try to ensure that we created a space that has diverse categories of resources, and we currently hold academic and non-academic resources, gray literature. We have the REK collection, that's our repository of endogenous knowledge, where we're collecting knowledge bases from different Global South communities to have documentation, representation, and availability or access to these knowledge bases, as well as opinion pieces from thought leaders from the Greater South. And our goal here is to make sure that the content on GreSIS is unique, is new, is diverse, and also leads the researcher or scholar to want to seek more knowledge and have a transdisciplinary approach to their research work or collaboration from one continent to the next, or from one university to the next within the Global South and the Global North, bridging that academic domain. And we also have, in the development process of GreSIS, working closely with our colleagues at Tide, who will, in a few minutes, run us through the platform, made sure that we had features and functions on GreSIS that makes the platform inviting, exciting, fun, and creating a space where we're presenting the resources, we're presenting a platform that is really user-based. We made sure that we put ourselves in the user perspective to ensure that what are the features and functions we want on GreSIS? What are the capabilities that a platform like GreSIS should present to its community? So we made sure it was free and open access. We had the personal land dashboard, search and filtering, AI translation, again, to make sure that we're bridging the language divide, as well as the stumble function to make sure that we keep on having different knowledge bases pop up and have a very interesting platform that is accessible to all across the OSC member states and also affiliate institutions. So if you notice, like, the features that have the asterisks are those that are currently available in the beta version. And then subsequently, we have some more features that will be rolled out over time as we continue to have more users use GreSIS, give us their feedback, and then refinement process to ensure that GreSIS is at the forefront of meeting the needs of our user base in an inclusive and innovative platform that is relevant to scholars, researchers, and our communities across the knowledge domain. Next slide, please. So when we talk about access in the GreSIS beta version, the beta version right now is exclusively available to institutions within OSC member states and associate members and their affiliate networks. So to gain access to GreSIS as a non-member state institution is pretty simple. First, we will request that you sign up the expression of interest form where you're willing to share a repository, like your institutional repository. Let's say, for instance, you house resources within your organization. It could be learning materials. It could be dissertation, theses. It could be publications and very diverse in audio, video, text. We're really happy to have a very interesting and diverse package of resources and knowledge resources on GreSIS. So if you share your resources on GreSIS as a non-member state institution, that then gives you access to GreSIS. However, as a member state institution, access is granted regardless or not if you share your resources with us on GreSIS, but we encourage that because we want to have representation. That's what GreSIS is really about, representation, as well as bridging those gaps of in terms of marginalization of different communities within the GreSIS platform. So these are the OSC member states. If your country is here on this list, just send us an email through the EOI form, and we'll begin the process of enrolling your institution, as well as our associate members. I can see some of our associate members on the call today. So if you've not been enrolled on GreSIS, please send the email or fill out the EOI form, and we'll have the very smooth sailing process of getting you onboarded on GreSIS. Next slide. So enrollment benefits, how then can you be part of this? How can you contribute? How can you join? How can you share on GreSIS? So first, you start by exploring the platform at gresis.osc.int. Enroll your institution by completing the EOI form, as said earlier, and then showcase your knowledge on GreSIS. Once you've gotten access to GreSIS, please contribute your knowledge. It could be through individual uploads, it could be through institutional contribution, and then use GreSIS as much as possible and give us feedback, because we're still in the beta phase of GreSIS and we're continuously seeking ways to improve the platform for everyone. So we'll be more than happy to get more people within the platform, and we're really grateful to the AASU. They are one of our early adopters, and we also have some of our OSC Institute alumni that are here on the call that are one of the early adopters of GreSIS that have begun using the platform, uploading resources, and giving feedback on how we can make the platform much better. So recommend GreSIS across institutions in the Greater South, and let us continue to build a community, a knowledge community that is representative, that is inclusive, and is diverse towards bridging the gap of democratizing knowledge and access to knowledge across the global South. So this is just our presentation right now on the why of GreSIS. And in the next session, I'll hand over to Dr. Isabel to take us through the next sessions that will bring us towards the closure, and we'll be more than happy to hear your questions and then also try and answer them relating to how you can be part of the growing GreSIS community. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary, for your presentation. It's my pleasure now to hand over to my colleague in the Tide department, the lead developer of GreSIS, Mr. Emmanuel Zodu Kebede, for a technical walkthrough of the GreSIS platform. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isabel. It's a pleasure to have you all in this call. So as warmly introduced by Dr. Isabel, my name is Emmanuel Zodu Kabada. I am the lead developer in this project, Greater South Information System. And I'll be walking you through the platform, introducing you to some of the features that we have in the beta version. And I'll also walk you through how you can gain access into GreSIS through the institutional access. So without further ado, I have this pre-recorded walkthrough of the platform, which I will walk you through. So the first step of the platform or to gain access is to log in. So before we log in, like I've mentioned, we'll have institutional access, which I'll walk you through right after this walkthrough, which I'll show you how we can gain access to give you the credentials to be able to log in. So once you do so, you'll be led to the homepage, which would show you the About GreSIS section, which has been very well explained by all my previous predecessors who have explained it very well. We have the Join GreSIS section that explains at least the 3 core functions, which is the search and explore, your contribution towards GreSIS, and then how you can create collections and curate your own knowledge. Then you have the objectives, which has been very well explained by Dr. Shimati as well, which include transdisciplinarity, accessibility, inclusivity, as well as collaboration. Then we have the collections. On the homepage, we have the featured collections. At least we have 3 of the featured collections that are available now. We have the repository of indigenous knowledge, the voices from the Greater South, and transdisciplinary research as collections available. Then we have the stumble function. This is basically designed to give users the option to not only navigate through the search, but stumble upon knowledge as if they would do so if they were in a library, if they're searching for knowledge, and they end up finding something that they're not necessarily looking for, but is a good source of knowledge. So we don't want to lose that in the digital version. So we introduced the stumble function. I'll show you later on how it works. And finally, we have the footer, which shows us better navigation throughout the system. We have the help section as well as the basic navigation. And now let's jump into one of the key features, which is the search and explore. Once you click that, you'll be led to the search page or the search main page, as we call it. Currently, we have more than 300,000 resources in GreSIS, which are all harvested. You can see on the right side, you have the option to sort them as you please. On the left side, you have advanced features, filter features like works from knowledge, whether it's endogenous or not, whether it's open access or not, and even you can choose the language as well as the country of your knowledge. So these are very advanced features that you can, filters that you can use to fine tune your search. Once you have something that you like, you can use the save function to save your work, which I will show you how you would access it in your dashboard. Now let's walk into one of the records, and this would be the record landing page. You would see the title up on the top front. Then you have the description. As you can see, this is originally a Spanish document. So the description is in original Spanish. But I want to walk you through one of our biggest features, which is the translation feature. Currently, we have an automatic machine translation that is supported by artificial intelligence to basically translate all the documents that come into GreSIS into the 4 OAC languages, which are Arabic, French, English, and Spanish. So this being the Spanish version, you'll see the Arabic, French, and English versions as translated descriptions. So this means you can find this research, even though it's in Spanish, you can find it through Arabic, you can find it in French, and you can find it in English. Right below that, you will have the preview. So you can preview the document of this research within the platform. You can make it comfortable by opening it as a full screen. which is very accessible. You can also print it and download it from this page, making it very convenient. Right below it, you can also download the document to see the document at your own leisure. Here, this is the downloaded version of the document we just saw. And then you can also translate this document into the 4 OSC languages so that you can utilize whichever, if you're comfortable with English, you'll translate it and you can open it and you'll have the English version without the formatting changed for you to utilize on your own. So as you can see, the format is the same and it's basically reading an English version of the document. All right, so on the right side of the landing page, we have different features. The first is the Explorer or the export function, which basically lets you export this document into your own, for example, library, into a digital version like a JSON version and all that. We have different formats. Right above that, you have the citation, where you can choose different citation methods for you to cite this work. Right above that, you have the rights, you have the publishers and resource types. And then you have a small analytics that shows you how many people have viewed or how many people have downloaded this work. Great. Now we have the stumble function. So the stumble function works very simply. It gives you 3 options. So once you click, you have the option to stumble through publications, audio and video, or full stumble, which includes both publications and audio or video. So you can click one of them and it will automatically generate or fetch a document that is completely random. So you will have interesting things to see if you're not particularly looking for anything specific in GreSIS. So it gets you right to the landing page. You can also access the stumble function from the top menu. So the 3 options will be presented right besides the search function, which you can stumble using that as well. Perfect. So now that we've seen the basic functions, let's see how you would basically use the platform within your own dashboard. So we just clicked the dashboard button and we are here at the My Upload section. So here's what you'd find if you upload a new document or a video or an audio. This is where you would find it. Right besides that, you have collections. So this is if you have joined a collection or if you have created one, you can access it here. This is the requests, which means someone has asked for you to review or publish their work, which means it will happen here. So you can see them listed here. And lastly, we have the saved, or what you've seen, the save function basically brings it here for you to utilize later on. So this is basically the overview of your dashboard. So let's see the collection feature. So we've seen the repository of endogenous knowledge as one of the collections that is curated by OSC. As soon as you hit, you'll have the About section. And then if you hit the Record section, you'll find records under the repository of endogenous knowledge. So these you can access here. You can also create your own collection. So you just add new collection, enter the collection name, add the identifier for your collection, make it either public or restricted, and then that's it. You create your collection, and then you can input any documents or publications into this collection that you've just created. Now that we've seen collection, let's see how you can contribute to GreSIS. So once you hit new upload, you'll be led to this page where you can upload your own work onto GreSIS. This is basically how you would contribute to GreSIS. So the first section is the file section, where you can upload not just publications like PDF or Word documents, but you can upload any type of file, whether it's video, audio, data sets like Excel, or even machine formats, any files that you believe will help your document, you can add it. as we call it, research ephemera. So you can click that. Currently, I'm going to show you uploading a PDF file. It's as simple as that. Next, you have the GreSIS basics section, which gives you 4 things to fill in, which is first, is the one that you're currently providing, is it an endogenous knowledge or not? Is it a knowledge from the Global South? You also have the option to input the country. And then finally, you have the option to also input the language of your record. Then you have, as you can see, we have more than 6,000 languages already supported in the platform. So chances are you will find the language or your native language. Then you have the basic information section. The first thing you'd see is the digital object identifier, which basically gives a specific ID for your record. If you already have it, you can basically copy and paste the DOI. As you can see, if you already published, you will have a DOI. You can copy and paste that. If you don't, not a problem. You can hit no and generate your own digital object identifier. Then you have the resource type, which lets you choose what type of resource you're sharing. Then you have the option to add a title. Here I'm copying and pasting, for example, a title. You can also add additional titles like translated titles and stuff like that. Then you have the publication date. This is basically the date that if it's published already. If it's not, it already gives you the current date, so you can use that. Then you have the creator section when you can add the authors. If you're the author, you can add yourself. If you're uploading for someone else, you can also add them as an author. You can add as a person or as an organization, and it would be as simple as that. Then you have the description to add either your abstract or your table of contents, whatever you believe will enrich your document, you can add as a description. So you can add multiple descriptions as well. So I'm not going to walk you through all the process, but this is just to show you just a few of the things that you can add. And then everything else that you see below are optional things that you can add to enrich your document so that people can find your document and utilize it, cite it, and be a part of the education or the knowledge domain. All right. So let's pass this. Once you're done with adding all your necessary information, you can hit publish, at which point it will show you this page. This is where you can find the terms and conditions. So you can read the terms and conditions before you publish. If you agree with the terms and conditions, you can hit publish and it will be published on GreSIS. So this is the document after you've published. Here you're given 3 options. You can edit it, which means you can edit the metadata. You can also create a new version so that you can edit also the PDF. And finally, you can share the document with anyone by copying the link. Right, so this shows you that the website is also accessible in multiple languages, at least in the 4 of OAC languages. So we have just changed the page into French. You can also change it to Spanish as well as Arabic. So this cuts across all the platform features. So it's not just the homepage, but as you walk through the platform, you would find it in these languages. All right, finally, we have, since this is the beta version, it's crucial that we get your feedback. So you can access the Contact Us page by clicking the beta button or clicking the Contact Us at the footer. This will show you this page where you can give us the feedback. As we said, this is beta, and your input is very, very important to us for us to enrich and add more features. And so we welcome your feedbacks, and this is where you would access it. All right, thank you very much. The next section would be the introduction of how you can actually enroll yourself on GreSIS or gain access. So basically what we would call the institutional access. So this is a very simple process, and it starts with us inviting your institution. So we'll need your email address as well as the name of your institution. We'll invite the admin user, which would be the email that you would provide, and we'll get that email address, add the university name, and basically invite you to create your own institutional access. So here you'll find an email that looks similar to this, where you can register your institution. Once you click the button, you'd be led to this institutional account form. So here you can fill in your institutional name, the short name. For example, if it's Addis Ababa University, it can be AAU. You can choose what type of institution it is. If it's just an institution, is it a university? Is it a private company? Is it an organization? Or if it's not included in the list, you can choose other. Then the address is optional. If you want to add, you can add it. We recommend that you do. Next, you have the email. This email has to be the very email that you've provided for the institutional access. But if you have a different contact email, you can also provide that below. Then you have the phone number and website, which are also optional. So you don't have to put them, but it would be best if you do so. Once you do that, you hit register, and you would be able to sign into the institutional dashboard with the very same email and password that you've just provided. So once you log in, you'd be, this page that you see is basically the institutional dashboard. So this is a different section of GreSIS. So which means by gaining access to institutional dashboard doesn't automatically mean that you have access to GreSIS. So you need to invite others as well as yourself in using this institutional dashboard for you to be able to gain access to GreSIS itself. To do that, it's very easy. You just click invite a user. It could be or it could be a student, or it could be a faculty. You would input their email address, their full name, and hit submit, and they will get an email that basically walks them through the process of gaining access to GreSIS. You can also use a CSV file to bulk invite. So if you're an admin of an institution, we wouldn't expect you to fill in all the emails of the students and faculty. You can basically use the CSV file to upload all the faculty and students. This is just an example. You have their email and their full name, and that's enough. So you choose that list and bulk upload, at which point all of them would be getting that invitation, and just like that, they will gain access to GreSIS. Once you've done that, as the admin, you have a few options and a few controls in the institutional dashboard. As you can see, you have the option to upgrade them to staff, which basically means if they're faculty, you can upgrade them to a faculty status. You can also block some users of if you believe they are not currently affiliated with your institution. You can also assign them as reviewers so that they can basically act as reviewers when students submit their either publications, videos, or audios, or any records on GreSIS. So changing access in any of these things is simply just clicking the button. As you can see, it's very user-friendly, and you can simply do that. All right, so this basically concludes the walkthrough of the institutional access and how you can gain access to the institution, or through GreSIS through the institutional access. Now, what the call I have for you is, it's been said multiple times how you can do so. But for now, to start with, you need to submit like we said, the emails of the institution and the admin. And to do that, we have shared a link on the chat where you can use that link to basically fill in the information, and at which point we can start the onboarding process. Also, for the ones that are not member states, we have said that it's very simple. You have to share your repository, at which point we can give you access. So we also have a form for you to share your information about your repositories. So please do so. So even if you're not member states, and you can gain access, and you can gain access through that. So thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Isabel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for walking us through the platform and guiding us. In the chat. You'll see the link to the expression of interest form, as well as the link to share or to express the interest to share your repository and share some key data. And I would just echo that, for our member state institutions, while it's not required to share your repository, of course, we would love to have your repository. We would love to showcase your knowledge. So we hope that every institution will share their knowledge, share your knowledge, either through sharing your repository or through the individual uploads. So wonderful. So now it's my pleasure to turn us back to our colleagues at the All Africa Students Union. We will now be hearing from Ms. Hilda Nyarkwa Beko. She is the lead of the AASU Migration and Mobility Working Group at our colleague's institution, AASU, and we're very pleased to welcome her and to hear her reflections on the GreSIS platform. Over to you, Hilda.
Thank you very much. Okay, so my name is Hilda from the All Africa Students Union. I am also an alumni from the OSE Institute, and in our last training, we had the opportunity to experience firsthand the GreSIS platform. So I'm joining you today to share my reflections on the importance of GreSIS to students, universities, and stakeholders from the Global South. They've shared enough, but just to re-echo what they've shared on the importance of GreSIS. One is accessibility. I know we have some students on this platform, and I'd like to urge you to explore GreSIS because it's one of the platforms that gives you accessibility to knowledge, whether it's academic knowledge, non-academic knowledge, indigenous knowledge. So if you are a student here and you are in your final year and you are looking for topics for your thesis or dissertations, I would encourage you to visit the GreSIS platform, explore whatever it's there, and maybe out of it, you can get a topic for your thesis or your dissertation or publication, whatever you are writing on. Another importance of GreSIS is that GreSIS gives us opportunity for collaboration. So you can collaborate on projects, on research, publications, what have you, not necessarily with people within the same country, but with other countries as well on the platform. So the platform has a workspace that gives you the opportunity to collaborate with other researchers or people as you are working on a particular project. Now, the third one that I would like to talk about is that GreSIS serves as a platform, or it serves as a digital preservation. And for universities that have repositories or have, stock of knowledge in their libraries and they would like to transmit all of them onto a digital platform, I think GreSIS is a platform that they can explore as an option for those repositories, as well as other knowledges that are churned out by universities across Africa and even in the Global South at large. And then the last importance I'd like to talk about is that GreSIS prioritizes what's from the Global South. As we do, am I still on? Okay, so when we visit, so we institutions and CSOs that embark on publications and research, sometimes we visit these sites and we have to pay for them. We have limited access and all of that. And some of the works that we usually come across are works from the Western side or the Global South, the Global North. But this platform prioritizes works from the Global South. So if your work is there and people are signed onto the platform, the likelihood of your work coming out for people to see is very high. And so that's one of the importance of GreSIS. It seeks to prioritize what we do the knowledge we produce here within the Global South, and then it helps us to explore, all other available knowledge within the Global South. So these are just some of my reflections on the importance of GreSIS as we had the opportunity to experience it during our training. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hilda, for your remarks. I appreciate that. And it's very practical. We were very pleased to have AASU as our co-host, not only because they contributed to the conceptualization, the feedback on GreSIS during the development, but also because we felt they could channel the interests of many of those institutions that we have invited here today. And so I hope you all found her remarks very relevant to your institution and your stakeholders. Wonderful. So it's now my pleasure to welcome Mr. James Kuji, the leader of the Democracy and Good Governance Working Group at AASU, to take the floor and share his reflections. Welcome to you, James.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isabel. Yeah, my name is James Kuji. I'm a programs officer at the All Africa Students Union and also an OSC Institute alumni. And I'm delighted to speak to you today about how you can advocate for your university or institutions to enroll on GreSIS. So as it has already been highlighted by the speakers before me, so by being on GreSIS comes with a lot of opportunities or advantages for your institution. So your institutions can collaborate or contribute to the collective effort to break down barriers to knowledge production and dissemination. So why do we need to advocate for it? So first of all, I'm going to tackle it from different angles. So GreSIS provides a unique opportunity for institutions to collaborate on a global scales. So by enrolling on GreSIS means that you are part of a bigger network that promotes joint research, share resources, and also cross-institutional learnings. And also your institution can gain access to a wealth of resources, including databases, research papers, educational materials that might otherwise not be accessible, like my colleague earlier said, accessing from journal site like Emerald JSTOR, where you have to pay to access it, which becomes a barrier. And also being part of GreSIS also positions your institution as a forward-thinking and globally enabled leader in education and research. So it has the reputation of your university or the institution as is committed to the principles of collaboration, inclusivity, and innovation. And I'm sure we all wish our institution can be seen as this, as being part of the global coalition championing this. So how can you then advocate for your institution to be part? I think first of all, everything falls and rights on leadership. So you need to first of all start engaging with the leaders on the benefits of GreSIS by highlighting how GreSIS align with your institution's strategic goals and long-term vision. So I think I don't need to go back because from the first speaker to my turn, I've talked about the importance of GreSIS and the benefits and everything. I'm just talking about how we can just advocate. So you can also, how can you do this? So I think as students or as members in institutions, we can leverage meetings, during our meeting sessions and everything, we can just talk about what GreSIS is and spread awareness of it, the benefits, so that we get more people excited about it to explore the platform and adapt it. And we can also organize workshops or information sessions like what is being done today right now. And I know for sure 100% that the RIF team and the TIE team are always on standby to support. So if you need them to help you with putting together the info session, I'm sure they are willing to be on board to help you to spread the news about GreSIS to your institutions, to make it easier for your managers or your leaders to hear from the horse's own mouth what the platform is about. And so to do this, you can develop a pitch deck where you highlight the benefits of GreSIS, the advantages of joining it. Then you also detailed a plan on how you can integrate GreSIS to if you have an existing repository, how you can link the existing repository to GreSIS. So I think GreSIS presents a groundbreaking opportunity for institutions to advance in education, research, and global collaboration. So I therefore encourage all of you to take the necessary steps to bring your institutions on board and be part of this transformative initiative. Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. We appreciate you and your colleagues as some of the GreSIS ambassadors, and I think it's really important that you emphasize how individuals can advocate on behalf of their institution to join GreSIS so that the access can be spread across our institutions. And as you said, it can add to the profile of institutions as well as to the quality of the education and the quality of the research that's taking place within those institutions. So that's fantastic. So I'm pleased to share that we are now at the question and answer stage of our webinar. We welcome your questions in the chat. So we have already collected a few questions that I've noted here, and we'll start with those. And then in the meantime, we would love to see further questions added to the chat. I would also note that I have just posted the email that you can reach out at any time to the GreSIS team in case you don't have a chance to have your question answered today, or perhaps you have a comment, etc., that you'd like to share directly with us. We, as James said, we're on hand to follow up with you and to address your needs and your questions. So at any time, feel free. So the first question that I would highlight comes from Saleh Saeed. I believe he had to step off of the webinar, but we will still nonetheless address his question. And I would say that Dr. Shumate, I think you would be an excellent voice as the leader of the technological development on GreSIS. I think you would be well positioned to answer this question. So the question is, my question will be that in the evolving landscape of academic knowledge dissemination, it is imperative to explore and discuss alternative methods beyond the traditional formats of publishing articles and books. This exploration should aim to enhance accessibility, engagement, and impact of scholarly knowledge. Considering the diverse and multifaceted audience that modern scholarship seeks to reach, how can GreSIS implement innovative and inclusive strategies for producing and disseminating knowledge in different formats beyond publication? So I'll hand that over to you, Dr. Shumate, to respond.
Thank you, Dr. Isabel. Thank you for the person who asked this question. Probably he's not if he's not already left, probably he might be hearing the answer. But well, actually, as we already explained regarding GreSIS, GreSIS is an all-encompassing inclusive digital platform to entertain traditional and modern resources, published and unpublished, in different formats, in different file types. It can be audiovisual, it can be video, it can be sound, anything, the voices from the global south, or what we call, according to the person who made the request, the traditional way of doing the repository. So when it comes to doing repositories in GreSIS, we have made a kind of departure from the usual way of doing repositories for knowledge. And so GreSIS can do the do the work of repositing and preserving knowledge for dissemination of knowledge from the global south and for humanity in any ways and any forms possible. So sky is the limit as far as the service from GreSIS is concerned.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Shumate. And we hope that this answer reaches to the discussant, Saleh Saeed, in the future. So the next question, I think, would be well targeted to you, Professor Hirut. The question comes from Ayalo. He is on the call with us. And the question is that most of research journals from Africa, for instance, are under Western publishing industries. Their publication guidelines are based on Western knowledge standards and are not accommodating of our indigenous knowledge. So how can we make African focused, also all of the Global South, journals independent from the Western influence? Over to you, Professor Hirut.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, of course, that is the reason, the main purpose of this organization come in place to begin with, because Greater South, the Global South, has got its own challenge, and with regard to knowledge production, knowledge accessibility, we have problem because there are different standards and, that one should fulfill coming from the Greater South. Like endogenous knowledge, as we said it earlier, is not counted as knowledge because it follows a different kind of epistemology or method or source. So the thing is, for me personally, we have to build up, establish our own journals. That's it. We need to have our own journals, our own platforms. Here we have GreSIS, for example. GreSIS, by the way, has more components. Some of them are not yet developed, but in the way, like having our own journal, apart from circulating the existing knowledge products, GreSIS also intends to have its own online journal for scholars in the Greater South to publish, to disseminate the knowledge in their institutions. We'll also have, by the way, e-learning platform is another component unfolding here that gives the opportunity for different scholars, different researchers, or even students across the Greater South to collaboratively produce new knowledge, to produce new knowledge together, jointly. We'll also have maybe, kind of media hub where we can, take out, disseminate information or research outcomes from the Greater South. Online conferences, webinars like this will also be hosted by GreSIS. So we are trying to expand the platform, the space for our scholars to come together and exchange with each other the knowledge they are creating and disseminate it to a wider community so that we can use that knowledge for, addressing our various socioeconomic and other problems and challenges in the region. So there will be much more beyond this. More components related to GreSIS will be coming up soon.
Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Hirut.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Shumate could help me out with this if it's not answered.
Dr. Shumate.
No, thank you, Dr. No, Prof. Hirut, it's well said. We are developing our own platform. At the same time, we are not disregarding the knowledge that are being produced and reproduced in the global north. That must be. We are part of the globe. We are part of the global knowledge, but we need our knowledge, our endogenous knowledge, to be heard, to be deposited, to be recorded, and to be transmitted from generation to generation. And so the way the legitimizing or delegitimizing of knowledge must be reconsidered. We are actually challenging the paths of the past when it comes to acknowledging knowledge. We are not considering only published knowledge, published articles, unpublished ones, directly from the local people, from the indigenous people, from those original and natural spaces we craft, we deposit, and we record knowledge. That is what we are doing, as Prof. already indicated. We are adding more features in order to accommodate more types, different types and files of knowledge that are existing in our global south. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Shumate. So we have a series of very relevant questions that were placed in the chat. Thank you to Algie. So the first question, what does the Greater South mean? I've never seen that term. Very, very important question for us here at the OSC. So would one of our speakers like to address that? Maybe Professor Hirut, why don't you address that question, please?
Well, Greater South is a new way of expression developed, I can say, by OSC here. And it refers actually to the global South that encompasses Africa, Latin America, Asia, partly, Middle East, Pacific, Oceania, and so on. So these areas, they share similarities, they share various challenges, and they also share similar aspiration to develop, aspiration to, address their multifaceted serious challenge in socio-economic, environmental, cultural, political, name it. We all share that in the global South. So together, collaboratively, collectively, we have to address this. That's why, Greater South must collaborate and work together, because we have a lot of common problems and challenges that we need to address together collectively and find our way out. So Greater South is basically global South, but we call it greater because it has a huge potential. I mean, that's why, it has to be qualified as greater instead of, global South. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hirut. So we're getting close to time. We had aimed to have a 1.5 hour webinar, and we're a few minutes over. And so I wanted to just refer you back to the chat and notice that we have shared the link to the expression of interest form, as well as the link to share your repository and our email for any further questions or comments, and we'll be happy to communicate with you. And with that, I think we can end with maybe one last question. So the question we should choose, let's see. Let's ask the question, why can't individuals access GreSIS? Why is it, I think the implication is, why have we gone with an institutional enrollment policy at this time?
Yes.
And why is it not fully open? So maybe Dr. Shumate, would you like to address that question?
Okay, Dr. Isabel. Well, actually, the GreSIS, the resources that are available in GreSIS will be available free in the future, but for the time being, we limit for the institutions in our member states and associate members. As we already explained to you, GreSIS is free, but free is not cheap. The organization made a lot of investment for the development of GreSIS as a platform, and also to collect the various endogenous and unpublished resource, academic and non-academic resources. And so for the time being, we need authorized users. So institutionally based or acknowledged users for GreSIS. But in the future, actually, because we are working for knowledge, access to knowledge for humanity, so we'll make it open for all. For the time being, we opt for institutional access, so that I hope all of you are under certain institutions in our countries of the global south, so that you can just fill the form, indicate your organization, and get access. And then as simple as that. Thank you very much.
Professor Hiru, do you want to add to that?
Well, yeah. Actually, GreSIS will be accessible even beyond the Greater South. It would be accessible for the whole world after a while, yeah, but we have to do our homework first. It's in the process of shaping up itself and building itself up. Whereas after a certain period of time, it will be open for all. Even now, reciprocally, with institutions in the Greater Global North, we have this policy of exchanging repositories and giving access to each other. By the way, one thing that we maybe forgot to mention, GreSIS is building up very quickly, has been launched last February. Now it's going up, approaching to almost 1 million content very soon, in a couple of months. That's our target, to get over 1 million content. So imagine in the coming years, the potential would be very high. That indicates this platform is very crucial. So you have to enroll to it, and you have to share your knowledge, your repositories, to make it more available for wider society, academic society, in 4 different languages. So collaboratively, we'll take it to the next step forward. And thank you. I just want to say thank you, everyone, once again for accepting our invitation and joining us and staying with us until now. And I see like 73 participants now. It started with 80. So it's just 7, people who just left us. That means, that's not normal. Normally, you see people leaving out while after it starts. But I'm
just counting about 88 people at the beginning, at the middle of our meeting, Prof.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, now we're 73. Okay, so yes, very good. Very well attended and well engaged. Thank you so much. And we'll meet, I think, next time on another topic, webinar. We'll continue with GreSIS. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Hirut, Dr. Shumate, as well as Divine. Thank you so much for all of your remarks and responses. We thank our presenters from the GreSIS technical team, as well as Hilda and James, all of our colleagues at OSC and AASU for making the webinar possible. It was very engaging, and we appreciate all the work that everyone has contributed to make GreSIS available and very valuable. And we invite you, and we look forward to seeing you on GreSIS very soon. You have our contacts, and we can't wait to engage with you and to learn from you and to share our knowledge together with you. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on GreSIS, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.
Yeah, I should also say thank you, Dr. Isabel. You should say thank you to you for doing a wonderful job moderating this webinar. And thank you also, Mary, Aman, Ahmed from Tide Group. So thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and hope we'll be seeing you in another webinar sessions organized by OSC and other collaborating associate members and member states. Thank you all, Dr. Isabel, and all OSC staff members, technical team from Pure and the IT department who are working beyond us. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.